Peace, everyone. How you doing? Welcome to Tuesday night Murder Doctrine night. So the title of today's Murder Doctrine is "Who Was Queen Pepsi?" The Murder Doctrine episode that shook everybody. We're going to get into this. We're going to start with some audio first.
Looking down my timeline, I started looking at certain people's pages, and I'm seeing people still celebrating Africa Bambaataa. Disgusted. So then I see a post where everybody's like, "Get well, sister. Sister Pepsi. Sister Pepsi had a stroke. Get well, sister. We hope you make it through. We hope you pull through." And one part of me was like, damn, Pepsi had a stroke. I grew up under this woman, her pushing my stroller, changing my Pampers, same building, same hood. Then the other part of me, like, yo, isn't this the same woman? When you, B Stinger, and all of the others came out on Africa Bambaataa and exposed him for being a pedophile on Star's platform, she called for my death. And I quote, told the Zulu Nation, "Go out and fight and strike down the enemy wherever you find them who's trying to bring the Zulu Nation down."
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. She was a loyal soldier, people. Queen Pepsi was a loyal soldier. She helped the Zulu Nation get their money from the 7 continents and the organization she set up with the different government heads and everything. She was a loyal soldier. She was friends with Africa Bambaataa and she was lovers with Ahmed Hennessy. She had a lot riding on the Zulu Nation. So we're going to deal with this with our write-up. Y'all follow along, please.
Murder Doctrine Episode 6 Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi, Hassan, Poppy, Campbell and the Zulu Nation Grand Conspiracy to clear Africa Bambaata's name.
Yes, they wanted to clear his name. Hassan was talking about it in Bronx Rebel when he was speaking to Sadnetta about the situation. So we got to clear Bam's name.
Welcome to episode 6 of the YouTube Streets Info Mob series titled Murder Doctrine, with the star of this episode being the now deceased Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi of the Universal Zulu Nation World Council. Today's Murder Doctrine episode subtitle Hassan, Poppy, Campbell and the Zulu Nation Grand Conspiracy to clear Africa Bambaata's name.
Grand conspiracy to clear Bambaata's name. So all these attacks are coming from government informants and everybody else that's a part of this. All of them are in agreements against Israel doctrine. We can't let him dirty up Bambaata's name. He's making us all money. And he did a grand thing for hip hop, and hip hop people that sleep with grown ups and youth.
Disclaimer: the untimely death of Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi of the Universal Zulu Nation in 2025 was not ruled to be a murder. The Murder Doctrine series is not to glorify murder, but to make information active in the community and to effectuate change. Though it may seem small now, with the Murder Doctrine series was created for us to forecast the future in hip-hop based on past and present trends. The Murder Doctrine series was not created to slander or libel against anyone that is mentioned throughout the series, but to pose and ask questions from time to time to give the viewers a foundation to grow on. The Murder Doctrine series is a time capsule for the youth of the future to learn how to do better than this generation and to be aware of the traps and pitfalls that attack God's people, or what I see as the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
So as you can see, the true Israel of God is on a mission, been on a mission. No one has ever seen anybody do what I do. It's new to the community. It's the new community order. It's so new that the ones that want to clear Bambaataa name has stole it. They go into the prison system and get people to speak on their past lives and do documentaries and different things. I done spawned a lot of stuff.
This episode of Murder Doctrine will speak of the claims that Queen Kenya, aka Queen Pepsi, was going to have Hassan Poppy Campbell murdered to clear Afrika Bambaata's name from the whistleblowing Hassan Campbell was doing on social media against Afrika Bambaata and the Universal Zulu Nation.
Yes, Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation. She was trying to protect her people. Once again, she was loyal to Bam, but she was going with Ahmed Henderson, the guy that took the spot of the Universal Zulu Nation after they kicked Bam out. She had a lot writing on what was going on. These are things that trapped in the culture could never or would never or ever try to speak upon because they are part of the Clear Bambaataa name too.
The Illuminati theory. Some hip-hop music has been inspired by the theory that a powerful international secret society exists. Often it is referred to as the Illuminati, after the Bavarian secret society founded in 1776. I want you all to know that the Illuminati was a secret society with origins alleged to have begun in Germany. As we go into this episode and align it with some of the teachings about the end times at Israel Doctrine, I do believe from my platform's latest videos on the Bible that we are now living in what the Bible calls the end times. This platform tends to forecast more than it broadcasts, even though it is broad what we deal with. To make it simple, the end times in the Bible speaks of the end of the age of man ruling over one another like we can see today. The end times being the end of an age gives Israelites who are Christian by their faith and following in the teachings of Jesus Christ hope of the coming or the dawning of a new age on this earth where this world will be ruled by our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. If that sounds too religious, well then you just wait until we deep dive and show you the connections in hip-hop with these fraternal orders that involves Pan-Africanism, Greek fraternities, sororities, Masonic temples, Eastern stars, the Fraternal Order of the Police, and even the street gangs. I want to show the audience who watches this episode how it all connects into hip-hop and why I gave hip-hop my own acronym, which goes here: Israel People Have Open Prophecy. I want you all to learn about the criminal syndicate, or what the Bible calls the beast system, operating from coast to coast and abroad on at least 6 of the 7 continents, but that has maintained a strong hold over what we call the hip-hop culture.
The hip-hop culture is on the attack, people. And a lot of people don't know. They didn't see it coming. And now that it's here, they act like they still don't see it. But I see it clearly. And I'm going to forecast about it. I done won legal lawsuits against public participation. It's called a SLAP, a strategic lawsuit against public participation, because I participated in this conversation. They won't tell you that though.
With the sexual immorality perpetrated by the LGBTQIA+ against minors in pop culture becoming a topic in mainstream media, with the recent laws passed to release the Jeffrey Epstein files, I believe that what we are witnessing is a systematic movement of fraternities, religious institutions, and secular societies all aligned in an attempt to normalize child sex trafficking, child sacrifice, and the ritualistic, sadistic, and masochistic behavior that goes on behind the scenes in corporate hip-hop and tied to the backdrops of Hollywood. The historically black Greek fraternities have always aligned itself with Pan-African roots. From Africa to America, the history of stepping explains the stepping we see historically black fraternities and sororities performing today can be traced back to the Zulu people in South Africa. It would seem that the influences of the Zulu people of South Africa have been rooted in North America long before the Universal Zulu Nation was founded by Afrika Bambaataa. The Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club, founded in 1916, is a fraternal organization in New Orleans, Louisiana, which puts on the Zulu Parade each year on Mardi Gras Day. Since the early 1900s, with Zulu as a social aid and pleasure club, we see a connection to the practices of South Africa adopted by the so-called blacks of North America. The Universal Zulu Nation, originally known simply as the organization, arose in the 1970s from the reformed New York City gang, the Black Spades, a street gang from the South Bronx. In the early days, members began to organize cultural events for youths, combining local dance and music movements into what would become known as the various elements of hip-hop culture. The background of the cultural influence Universal Zulu Nation obtained for hip-hop over the youth and its global outreach is something worth discussing, as Hassan Poppy Campbell would allege that Afrika Bambaataa would go on to sexually molest countless youth from America into the United Kingdom and to Brazil. The Zulu Social Club of Louisiana and its ties to social gatherings and dance is a way that we can see the fraternal orders of men and women in the Pan-African culture and the similarities it has in servicing social aid and pleasures to its members.
This is why when I was speaking to Hassan, the leader of the New Black Panthers, he said, "Oh man, you can't do nothing about it. They got him covered." Hassan Mazinga, the head of the New Black Panther Party, I was speaking to him about this situation. He was like, "Oh man, ain't nothing you can do." But I haven't stopped. He's dead and gone. I'm still here, fighting my fight. Though he didn't want to help me fight my fight. I'm not mad at him.
By the time you finish viewing this episode 6 of the Murder Doctrine series, you will hopefully all understand, with hip-hop culture recently celebrating its 50th year anniversary, that we are witnessing a continuation of counterintelligence operations waged on the masses in so-called Black America as far back as the 1960s with J. Edgar Hoover's COINTELPRO. It would later morph in the late 1970s and early 1980s into what we call hip-hop, and later be stalked and profiled by local, state, and federal law enforcement, and then infiltrated from within by bad faith actors of the government working with confidential human sources and career informants. Since the early 1980s, the Zulu Nation has established autonomous branches in Japan, France, the UK, Australia, Canada, South Korea, and the Cape Flats in Cape Town, South Africa.
Yes, it's been going on, going down. I appreciate the 2 or 3 people that's in here watching the show. I'm glad y'all interested in the topic. It's the greatest topic on YouTube to date. Kanita Jenkins is the only thing that's truly been bigger.
Dave Chappelle recently did a stand-up comedy presentation where he whistle-blew of personally knowing that the hip-hop police, a task force said to be formed by the New York City Police Department to investigate high-profile rap artist, had been investigating the now incarcerated Sean Puffy Combs for over 30 years. The modern warfare in cyberspace being waged online, which this platform popularized the term YouTube Street to express how the real streets and the people offline have migrated onto this space on the internet to do the same things done in the streets virtually.
Yes, same thing virtuous. Moving bodies, they doing everything. Doing everything. Let me make sure I'm getting the proper stuff. Yeah. We did that one. Then Dave Chappelle.
The effects of what goes on online in social media spaces and the effects it can cause offline is being weaponized in certain sectors by major corporations, non-governmental organizations, private charities, and major religious institutions against we the people. The algorithm discrimination online waged by big tech companies and organizations with foreign interest is no different than what happens in the real world with persons being labeled under a caste system as so-called whites, blacks, Hispanics, or Latinos, Asian and other minority or marginalized groups in Native America. With the passing of laws like the Smith Modernization Act under former President Barack Obama in 2013, the U.S. government has legalized improper propaganda against the American people with foreign influences. This episode of Murder Doctrine will enter into the discussion of information warfare and the use of the American Associated Press and social media platforms and the inner workings of government agencies and the operations against the users or regular users who frequent these platforms online.
I'm a regular user, people. For 20 years, I've been a regular user of YouTube. I started dealing with this Bambata thing, and government agents and different people have been running up behind me. A couple years back, I did a stalking and profile of the Israelite male, speaking of myself, because I felt this thing coming. I spoke about it, and afterwards, everything I spoke about started happening to me.
This Murder Doctrine episode is about the grifting that goes on in popular culture online. Grifting is a modern term used to describe the online scams or the swindling where millions of dollars are funneled from the general public into the accounts of social media influencers based upon fake news or stories told under false pretenses. As we see more and more high-profile celebrities intertwining with online social influencers like Hassan Poppy Campbell into this new year of 2026, we are sure to see an explosion of content that is going to align back with where this all started in 2016 in these YouTube streets. I myself have a channel that has been established well before the rise of people like Hassan Poppy Campbell or Charleston White. Well before the global pandemic forced your favorite celebrities to become podcasters and content creators, I had a channel here making information active in the online community. I was established on YouTube as a grandfather channel at Israel Doctrine, as I have been an active content creator now since 2008. I want you all to know that this channel has now been being shadow banned for some time, and I can prove it when you look at the views my videos receive ever since I began to expose the truth about Hassan Poppy Campbell. Just looking at my most viewed video on this channel alone will show anyone who sees this that a systematic effort has been being made to subject this platform to algorithm discrimination by Google and to make sure that the viewing audience believes my content has no value. Other content creators have colluded with YouTube executives to place real bots on my channels. I want you all to know that there is no series online that goes in depth with more topics than the Murder Doctrine series. Make sure to go watch Murder Doctrine episodes 1 through 5, and you will see that what I speak on goes deep into the heart of hip-hop in a way that no other content creator has or will go without direct experiences to speak on.
So, as you see direct experiences, none of them have been subjected to a slap, a strategic lawsuit against public participation, and beating. I've been subjected to it and I beat it.
Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi of the Universal Zulu Nation World Council was selected for this episode of Murder Doctrine because it involves allegations made by Hassan Poppy Campbell in the year 2016 against Afrika Bambaataa, Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi, and the Universal Zulu Nation. Many of Hassan Campbell's claims he would continue to make after coming out as an alleged victim of childhood statutory rape against Afrika Bambaataa. I want to add that my investigative journalism found other interviews online done with members of the Universal Zulu Nation World Council, like California-based DJ Mark Love, who alleged that the Universal Zulu Nation was not only involved in child sex trafficking of minors but also with adult sex trafficking. Was a cover-up being performed to avoid losing grants given to chapters of the Universal Zulu Nation? I did some research into the laws of the Federal Reserve Banks and found that any organization that has allegations associated with violations of child sex laws is automatically ineligible for funding.
Yeah, so you know what that just said? You can get Africa Bambaataa name on the register. We got to clear his name. He is the breadwinner of the Zulu Nation, and we can't afford to lose no bread. So everybody that then spoke got to pull their conversation back and everything. We got to control what we done started. And that Carl Albert guy, he's not a part of it. We won't let him be a part of it because he's going to tell the stuff that we refuse to tell.
I will stop and ask questions from time to time that is sure to speak to the soul of hip-hop when I ask, is Afrika Bambaataa and the Universal Zulu Nation, Hassan Poppy Campbell, and the allegations of child sex trafficking, murders, conspiracies to commit murder, racketeering, tax evasion, blackmail, bribery, and extortion all true? Can we see where hip-hop has gone? Can we see where hip-hop is now? Where is hip-hop going in the future? Hassan Poppy Campbell on more than one occasion would allege in YouTube videos that Queen Kenya, aka Queen Pepsi, threatened him that he would be murdered for his whistleblowing against Afrika Bambaataa, and that she made those threats directly in association with his presence out here in these YouTube streets. This episode 6 with Murder Doctrine will also take a deep dive into the various conflicting press releases and the breaches of the Associated Press made by Universal Zulu Nation and its affiliate. The breach of the Associated Press involves conflicting reports of a minor Hispanic or Latino teenage boy who was said to have been statutorily raped by Afrika Bambaataa in a New Rochelle apartment in New York State on April 1, 2013. It was also reported in 2013 by various members of the Universal Zulu Nation that the teenage boy stabbed Afrika Bambaataa and his manager Ahmet Henderson during the incident of statutory rape. The allegations made was that Ahmet Henderson, being in the apartment at the time of the incident, was alerted to the commotion and then entered the room to see Afrika Bambaataa was stabbed, and then he also received wounds associated with the stabbing.
With the stabbing. Ooh. I've been up since 5 this morning, people. Kind of tight. But the job must go on. Y'all don't care if I'm tight, do you?
With Afrika Bambaataa, known as the godfather of hip-hop, being hospitalized, it is said that hundreds of members of Universal Zulu Nation were present at Jacobi Medical Center in New York City to find out what happened after word spread that Afrika Bambaataa was in the hospital. It was also reported that Fruit of Islam, the security detail for the Nation of Islam, also sent members to the hospital to check on the status of Afrika Bambaataa. After the hospitalization of Afrika Bambaataa and Ahmet Henderson, reports of the alleged statutory rape of the teenage boy and the stabbing that occurred began to surface online with hip-hop blog sites. The Universal Zulu Nation official press release after the incident denied that Afrika Bambaataa was stabbed in its totality, but instead claimed that his hospitalization was due to his having minor chest pains believed to be associated with a potential of a heart attack scare.
This is the lie that they put out back in 2016. That's why you don't see anyone saying that it was 2013 when FBI informant wrote the article alleging the date rape was homosexual practice though he's a homosexual advocate. He was trying to get Bambaataa in that LGBTQIA plus.
Hassan Poppy Campbell broke his story in 2015 with claims of being a childhood victim of molestation by Afrika Bambaataa, and again in 2016 following Ronald B. Stinger Savage, a former New York City elected official who would make similar claims against Afrika Bambaataa on the cover of the New York Daily News publication. Ronald B. Stinger Savage would later do an interview on Fox 5 News with investigative reporter Lisa Evers. Both Hassan Poppy Campbell and Ronald B. Stinger Savage would claim knowledge of the 2013 stabbing incident after coming out against Afrika Bambaataa in 2016. The two would speak of their knowledge of the incident in an interview conducted with journalist Dave Wedge of Canada-based Noisy Vice magazine publication.
Now, all these publications, they had different stories. They're consistent in one thing: lying. They're consistent in one thing: the lies that they have made up and spread. Different publication, different lies.
I have made my own personal claims of hip-hop being infiltrated and influenced by counterintelligence operations, with the fact that a Canadian publication being used to breach the Associated Press with Hassan Campbell telling about a potential statutory rape of a minor in New York State and a cover-up of the stabbing of the godfather of hip-hop. This reminds me of shows I did on YouTube on my wrongfully terminated Israel Doctrine Reloaded channel on the Five Eyes law enforcement group. If you never heard of the Five Eyes Law Enforcement Group, for those who do not know, is a collaborative group of law enforcement agencies from the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, and the United States.
Five Eyes. A little bit more to go, people. A little bit more to go. Hopefully it's entertainment and education enough to keep your attention.
Queen Kenya, aka Queen Pepsi, of the Universal Zulu Nation World Council played a role, with the Universal Zulu Nation being a non-governmental organization with missions on 6 of the 7 continents. Allegations against Afrika Bambaataa molesting or statutory rape of minors was said to have taken place in the United States, Brazil, the United Kingdom, and more recently in France. Hassan Poppy Campbell would allege after coming out against Afrika Bambaataa in 2016 that the star of this episode, Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi of the Universal Zulu Nation World Council, was one of only a few individuals who was able to see Afrika Bambaataa at Jacobi Medical Center the night he was being treated for the alleged stab wounds with Ahmed Henderson in 2013. Hassan Poppy Campbell would also...
Now that's Jacobi Hospital. It's saying Jacobi. I want you to know that that's Jacobi Hospital in New York.
So alleged that after he came out in the public alleging that Afrika Bambaataa was a child sex trafficker of minors, alleging that the sex trafficking was international, that Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi threatened him that if he was to ever get off of YouTube out of public view, she would have him murdered by members of the Universal Zulu Nation.
Lady Wells threatened my life because I was participating in the conversation. She's a clean-up woman for the Zulu Nation too, from my understanding.
The death of Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi would pivot in 2025 with a reunification of Afrika Bambaataa and Ronald B. Stinger Savage at a memorial held as a tribute to the life of Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi. In this episode we will be going deep into the circumstances of what was occurring right before and just after the untimely death of Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi of the Universal Zulu Nation World Council.
She happened to die at a nice time, based upon the history of those that's involved in this conversation, or this show, this Murder Doctrine Episode Six. And one untimely death seemed like it was very timeful.
This tale of murder doctrine would begin for me right after my investigative journalism on my YouTube channel began to unravel the Afrika Bambaataa sexual molestation of minors allegations somewhere in the year 2017 after I did an interview with Hassan Poppy Campbell. After I interviewed Hassan Campbell in 2017 about his allegations of child sex, trafficking and molestation against Afrika Bambaataa and the Universal Zulu Nation, a scam alert was called out on Hassan Campbell by a faceless YouTube content creator alleging that his story was potentially being used as a grift or, for better terms, an online scam to racketeer money from the general public.
That YouTuber name was Conscious Speculation, which a lot of people believe was XXXTentacion, a hip hopper that people were speaking about Drake had murdered and everything. But people, who knows?
After doing my own research into what Hassan Poppy Campbell was alleging, I also found inconsistency with his movements online and had a falling out after I advised him to start an organization to help children who were victims of similar crimes as he was alleging against Afrika Bambaataa. I would later find that Hassan Campbell was not a mere victim of childhood rape, but instead he did an interview with YouTube content creator Queen's Flip episode number 29 alleging that he was given a photo of an underage Latino or Hispanic teenage boy by Afrika Bambaataa following the stabbing incident with an order for Hassan Campbell and other Zulu warriors security detail to kill the boy.
Murder. Some DMX, some Ja Rule, murder. How big of a crime is that? It's the type of criminals we dealing with.
Hassan Poppy Campbell would later claim that the photo was given to him to murder the teenage boy for Afrika Bambaataa so that he could not tell his story about what happened on April 1st, 2013, in the New Rochelle apartment with Afrika Bambaataa and his manager Ahmed Henderson. The Universal Zulu Nation once advocated for the now incarcerated Malachi Z. York, founder of the New Albions. The Universal Zulu Nation movement seemed to grow over the years following its creation, incorporating many doctrines from the Nation of Islam, the Nation of Gods and Earths, and the New Albions. In 2004, Malachi Z. York was found guilty on 4 counts of racketeering and 6 child molestation-related charges and given a 135-year sentence, which would be served in the EDX Florence Federal Prison in Colorado. A solidarity meeting brought New Albions together with representatives of the New Black Panther Party, Universal Zulu Nation, the Prince Hall Masons, and the Moorish Science Temple. York's supporters subsequently established fundraising groups committed to securing his release.
Yes, I was talking to Prince York, trying to negotiate an interview with him. He was telling me about polite, all that stuff. Him and Sarnetta was having it out, and I was the platform he chose to speak to and everything else. Yet Sarnetta spoke to him and he didn't do it. He talked to him and talked him out of it. I don't know how much money or whatever was given or whatever, I don't know. But he negotiated that interview so it wouldn't happen.
I have some key questions that I want to ask here so the viewing audience can use some critical thinking skills, or if you lack in critical thinking, I will entertain you enough to just think about what is being put down here. Was Hassan Poppy Campbell lying on Queen Kenya, aka Queen Pepsi, of the Universal Zulu Nation World Council when he made numerous videos made on YouTube claiming that she threatened that if he was to ever get off of YouTube from public view that he would be murdered? Do you all know that Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi was said to be the only other person besides a Zulu warrior named Typhig who saw Afrika Bambate's wounds at Jacobi Medical Center on April 1st, 2013? Do you all know that Ronald B. Stinger Savage would make peace with Afrika Bambaataa after alleging he was molested as a teen at the memorial following the death of Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi in 2025? Why did Hassan Poppy Campbell never report Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi to the authorities after he claimed she threatened to have him murdered for exposing an international child sex trafficking ring? Why is so many of these organizations' leaders being alleged to be into child sex rituals and then whistleblowers emerge with cover-ups? Are we all witnessing a modern COINTELPRO operation in hip-hop?
Are we? Forgive the young.
Let us look at what was posted about Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi after her passing by the Universal Zulu Nation, and the name of the Supreme Force. Our Queen Kenya, Queen Pepsi, has become an ancestor. Queen in the Black Spades, Queen in the organization, Queen of Universal Zulu Nation, is on her way to the ancestors. We ask all to send prayers through the tunnel of light which leads her back to the all of all, the heavens of all, the return of all. I find it interesting that Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi has a stroke, as I myself suffered a stroke at the hands of these same actors, including Hassan Poppy Campbell and Chicago-based journalist Layla Wills, who took me to court in the city of Chicago using a strategic lawsuit against my public participation in this Afrika Bambaataa public discourse. I did a video on this topic about a year ago on the Street Monopoly 12 channel titled The Truth Behind Zulu Nation Queen Pepsi, spoken of by Hassan Campbell. Hassan Poppy Campbell would allege that Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi knew for a fact that Afrika Bambaataa was molesting teenage boys and that she was the one of only 2 people allowed to see him the night he got stabbed. Hassan Poppy Campbell would claim that Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi knew the ins and outs of everything that Afrika Bambaataa was doing. Hassan Poppy Campbell would further claim that Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi knew that the teenage boy stabbed Afrika Bambaataa and why he stabbed him, and that she aided and abetted in the cover-up. Hassan Poppy Campbell alleged that Queen Kenya aka Queen Pepsi was aware that Afrika Bambaataa kept a black book of underage teenagers and adult men exposing themselves as a blackmail tool for extortion of its members. Hassan Poppy Campbell has now risen online to over 500,000 subscribers, sitting with the likes of celebrities like Mason Betha, TKHG69, West Coast hip-hop manager Wack 100, star Troy Torain of the Snitch Network, and Vlad TV. Hassan Poppy Campbell was not just a victim of Afrika Bambaataa, but he was a willing participant in the child sex trafficking, going so far as to take a photo of a teenage victim and even go so far to kill the teenage boy while he was a grown man and member of the Zulu Warriors security company.
Yeah, people, I'm glad y'all bearing with me.
On May 23, 2025, The Guardian reported, hip-hop pioneer Afrika Bambaataa loses civil case suing him for child sexual abuse. The report goes further to report, the plaintiff, who alleged that Bambaataa sexually abused and trafficked him when he was 12, was granted the default judgment after the DJ failed to show up in court. Now I have some more questions. Why has Hassan Campbell not taken Afrika Bambaataa to court to prove that he was stabbed after statutorily raping a teenage boy and then tried to have him and other Zulu warriors kill the teen? Are we witnessing another massive cover-up now that we have entered 2026 and Hassan Poppy Campbell is now aligning with Vlad TV? When will Afrika Bambaataa and the Universal Zulu Nation and its security arm, the Zulu Warrior Security, be brought to justice? Will Hassan Poppy Campbell be brought to justice with Afrika Bambaataa for his being a willing participant in a child sex trafficking ring?
Will he? Just as sure as you rose, you will fall by my hands. I helped the rise of Hassan Campbell when everybody left him. He did an interview with me, and everybody said, Israel Doctrine interviewed him. We should interview him. Let's get him. And they start interviewing him and filling his head up with lies and things about me. And that's when YouTube turned on me. Thank y'all.
As we close this episode of Murder Doctrine, I want to address that after I was arrested on false charges of brandishing firearms online by Layla Wills in the city of Chicago, I was sure to document and file complaints with various local, state, and federal agencies to inform them of the racketeering going on in the YouTube streets as it relates to Hassan Poppy Campbell, Afrika Bambaataa, and the Universal Zulu Nation, which includes the Zulu Warriors. As we embark into this new year, I predict the coming of certain political alignments that is sure to bring justice to these topics. Make no mistake that just as the Illuminati is said to have started in Germany, the death of the false illumination will end with Germany. You have now entered the world of street knowledge. This is YouTube Street Knowledge. Be sure to be on the lookout for the next episode 7 of the Murder Doctrine series. I will leave the next feature for a surprise, so you all want to tune in. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, share this video with your friends and family on your social media platforms, hit the notification bell to be alerted when we are dropping the next episode, become a member, leave a comment under the video. It helps the fight against the algorithm discrimination. Be the first to hear the greatest perspectives from the king of these YouTube streets.
With that said, people, Israel Doctrine is out. I appreciate all that tuned in, will tune in. Hit that notification bell that you might be alerted when we drop more information on Israel Doctrine Google Hangout. Peace.